Captain Jake Morrison stared out at the darkness of space through the main window of his ship. The New Horizon was not much to look at, but it was home to him and his crew. They were salvage workers, the kind of people who cleaned up the messes that other species left behind. It was not glorious work, but it paid the bills and kept them fed. "Captain, we have something on the sensors," said Pete Rodriguez from his station. Pete was their engineer and the best tech worker Jake had ever known. If Pete said there was something out there, then there really was something worth looking at. Jake walked over to Pete's console and looked at the screen. A large object floated in the empty space ahead of them. It was bigger than their ship. Much bigger. The sensors showed it was made of metal, but the design was unlike anything Jake had seen before. "What do you think it is?" Jake asked. "Looks like a space station, but it's old, really old. The metal has marks on it that suggest it has been here for thousands of years." "Maybe more," Pete replied. Dr. Lisa Parker looked up from her workstation. She was their science officer and knew more about old things than anyone else on the ship. "We should take a closer look." "This could be an important find." Jake nodded. "All right, but we do this carefully. We don't know what we're dealing with." Here, as they got closer to the station, Jake could see that it was huge. Their entire ship could fit inside just one section of it. The station was dark, with no lights or signs of power. It looked dead, but something about it made Jake feel uneasy. "There's an airlock on the side," Pete said. "Looks like it might still work. Any signs of atmosphere inside?" Jake asked. "The sensors show there's air, but it's old air." "We'll need suits," Lisa said. Jake, Lisa, and Pete put on their spacesuits and prepared to board the station. Commander Vextal, their Federation overseer, wanted to come too. Vextal was a Zephyrian, one of the smart alien races that ran most of the galaxy. He was supposed to watch over human workers like them and make sure they followed Federation rules. The airlock worked, though it made strange sounds as it opened. Inside, the station was dark except for the lights from their helmets. The walls were covered in strange writing that none of them could read. The air was thick and smelled old, like a room that had been closed for too long. "This place is ancient," Lisa said as she looked at the walls. "These symbols are unlike anything in our databases." They walked through long hallways filled with empty rooms. Some rooms had machines in them, but the machines were silent and covered in dust. Everything was much bigger than it needed to be. For humans, as if it was built for people who were taller and stronger, after an hour of exploring, they found a large room in the center of the station. The room was filled with tall black panels that reached from the floor to the ceiling. When Lisa touched one of the panels, it suddenly lit up with bright blue light. "Careful," Vextal said quickly. His voice sounded worried, which was strange. Because Vextal was usually calm about everything, more panels began to light up around the room. Strange writing appeared on the screens, flowing like water. Then the writing changed to something they could read. "It's scanning us," Pete said. "The system is trying to figure out who we are." Suddenly, the screens showed images of different alien races. Jake recognized most of them. There were Zephyrians like Vextal, the warrior Krathari, the peaceful Benthans, and many others. Each race had information next to their pictures, showing their home worlds, their abilities, and their history. "It's some kind of archive," Lisa said with excitement. "A library of information about every species in the galaxy." Then Jake saw something that made his heart stop. On one of the screens was a picture of a human, but this human looked different from the humans Jake knew. This person wore armor that looked advanced and powerful. The person's eyes were hard and confident like a warrior. Lisa moved closer to the screen showing the human. "Look at this," she said. "There's so much information here about humans, but it's marked with some kind of special code." Jake looked at the screen. Next to the human's picture were words that made no sense to him. "Final Protocol Level Omega Clearance." "What does that mean?" Jake asked. Vextal had been quiet, but now he moved quickly toward them. His face showed fear, something Jake had never seen before. "Don't touch that," Vextal said. "That information is corrupted. It could be dangerous." "Dangerous? How?" Lisa asked. Just step away from it, Vextel said. He was trying to sound calm, but Jake could hear panic in his voice. Lisa looked at Jake, then back at Vextel. This doesn't look corrupted to me. It looks like it's protected. Why would information about humans need this level of protection? Vextel reached for his communicator. I need to contact Federation headquarters immediately. This station needs to be quarantined. Jake stepped between Vextel and the screens. Wait a minute, we found this station. We have the right to study it. You don't understand, Vextel said. Some knowledge is too dangerous to uncover. But Lisa was already working at one of the panels. Her fingers moved over the controls as if she somehow knew how to use them. I'm copying this data, she said quietly to Jake. Lisa, stop, Vextel ordered, but it was too late. The information was already being transferred to Lisa's portable device. Around them, more systems began to wake up. Lights started turning on. Throughout the station, they could hear the sound of machinery starting to work after being silent for thousands of years. What have you done? Vextel whispered. Jake looked at the screens around them. Each one showed different information about humans, but all of it was marked with the same strange code. Whatever this final protocol was, it was important enough that someone had built this entire station to protect it. We need to get back to the ship, Jake said. Now, as they hurried back through the hallways, Jake could feel that something had changed. The station was no longer dead. It was waking up, and somehow he knew that their lives would never be the same again. Back on the New Horizon, Lisa worked alone in her lab while the others slept. She had waited until Commander Vextel went to his quarters before starting her work on the copied data. Something about the way he had acted on the station told her that he knew more than he was saying. The file was protected by layers of security that seemed designed to keep other species from reading it. Each time Lisa tried to open it, the system asked for different kinds of proof that she was human. First it wanted her fingerprint, then a scan of her eye, then something called a neural pattern check. This is strange, she said to herself. Why? Would human information need to be protected from non-humans? Pete came into the lab carrying 2 cups of coffee. Can't sleep either? He asked. Look at this, Lisa said, showing him the screen. The file keeps asking for human identification as if it expects only humans to read it. Pete sat down next to her. Maybe I can help. I'm good with security systems. Working together, they slowly broke through each layer of protection. The process took hours, but finally the file began to open. What they saw made them both sit back in shock. The screen showed pictures of humans, but these humans were different. They wore advanced armor and carried weapons that looked more powerful than anything the Federation military had. Their ships were massive and covered in weapons. The humans in these pictures looked like warriors, like conquerors. This can't be right, Pete said. Humans have always been peaceful. We've never been a military species. Lisa read the text that appeared with the pictures. According to this, humans were once called the Terran Dominion. It says we ruled most of the galaxy over 50,000 years ago. That's impossible, Pete said. We only discovered space travel 300 years ago, Lisa continued reading. It says here that humans were the most feared species in the galaxy. Our military was so advanced that other species had to work together to defeat us. They called it the Great Silencing. Pete looked at more of the information. Look at this section about human technology. These weapons and ships are far beyond anything we have now. How could we have lost all of this knowledge? Lisa found another section of the file. Here's how. They used some kind of bioweapon against us? It says the weapon affected human memory and made us less aggressive. The surviving humans were moved to a planet called Earth and had their memories wiped. Clean? Earth, Pete said quietly. That's our home world. According to this, it's not really our home world. We're refugees who were put there to keep us away from the rest of the galaxy. They continued reading through the night. The file contained detailed information about human military tactics, advanced technologies, and the war that led to their defeat. It also contained something called the Final Protocol. What's this Final Protocol? Pete asked. Lisa opened that section of the file. It looks like an emergency plan. If humans ever faced extinction or if certain conditions were met, this protocol would activate and restore human memories and abilities. Restore our memories of what? Of who we really are, Lisa said, of what we're capable of. As dawn came, on the ship, they heard footsteps in the hallway. Commander Vextal was awake and moving around. Lisa quickly closed the file and hid her portable device. "We can't let him know what we found," she whispered to Pete. Vextal entered the lab, looking tired and worried. "Have you been working all night?" he asked. "Just checking some readings from the station," Lisa said, trying to sound casual. Vextal looked at her computer screen. "You haven't been trying to access that corrupted data, have you?" "Of course not," Lisa lied. "You said it was dangerous." But Vextal didn't look convinced. He walked around the lab, looking at their equipment with suspicious eyes. "I've been in contact with Federation headquarters. They're sending a ship to secure the station. All data from our visit will need to be turned over to them." "Why?" Pete asked. "What's so special about an old archive?" "There are things in the galaxy that are better left buried," Vextal said. "Some knowledge can cause more harm than good." After Vextal left, Lisa and Pete looked at each other. "He knows what's in that file," Pete said. "Which means other Federation species know the truth about humans," Lisa replied. "They've known all along." Lisa opened the file again and found a section about the current state of humanity. "Look at this. It says the bioweapons effects are temporary. After 50,000 years, it should start wearing off naturally." "What does that mean?" Pete asked. "It means humans should start remembering who they really are. Our natural abilities should start coming back." Pete thought about this. "Is that why Vextal is so worried? Is that why the Federation wants to control this information?" Lisa nodded. "They're afraid of what will happen when humans remember the truth." Over the next few days, strange things began happening on the ship. Jake started having vivid dreams about battles in space and commanding large fleets of ships. He found himself understanding tactical situations that he had never studied. When Vextal gave orders, Jake felt a strong urge to take command instead. Pete discovered that he could understand the station's technology better than he should. When he looked at the alien machines, he somehow knew how they worked. He even figured out ways to improve Federation equipment that their designers had missed. Lisa felt drawn to return to the station. In her dreams, she saw herself walking through its halls as if she had been there before. The symbols on the walls seemed familiar, like a language she had once known but had forgotten. "Something is happening to us," Jake said during their morning meeting. "Ever since we visited that station, I've been feeling different." "Me too," Pete said. "It's like I'm remembering things I never learned." Lisa looked at both of them. "Maybe you are remembering. Maybe the final protocol is already starting to work." Vextal had been listening from the doorway. "What final protocol?" he asked. The three humans looked at him. Jake felt that urge to take command again, stronger this time. "I think you know exactly what protocol we're talking about." Vextal's face went pale. "You've read the file." "Yes," Lisa said. "We know the truth about humanity's past. We know what your people did to us." "We did what we had to do," Vextal said. "Humans were too dangerous. You conquered everything you touched. The galaxy was at war for centuries because of human expansion. And now?" Jake asked, stepping closer to Vextal. "What happens now that we know?" Vextal backed away from them. "Now I have to report this to my superiors. They'll decide what to do with you." But as Vextal reached for his communicator, Pete moved faster than anyone expected and took it from him. "I don't think so," Pete said. Jake looked at his crew and realized that they had already changed. They moved differently, thought differently. The final protocol wasn't just restoring their memories. It was bringing back everything that had made humans the rulers of the galaxy 50,000 years ago. 3 days had passed since they had taken Vextal's communicator. The Zephyrion sat in his quarters under guard while Jake tried to understand what was happening to him and his crew. The dreams came every night now, filled with memories that felt real but couldn't be his own. In his dreams, Jake commanded fleets of massive warships. He saw battles across star systems and remembered the feeling of absolute power. When he woke up, he found that he understood military tactics and ship operations that no human should know. It was as if another person's knowledge was growing inside his mind. Lisa spent most of her time studying the data from the station. Each day she understood more of it, and each day she discovered new abilities within herself. She could read the ancient symbols now without translation. When she looked at Federation technology, she saw flaws and weaknesses that the builders had missed. Pete had changed the most. He moved through the ship systems like he had designed them himself. He improved their engines, upgraded their weapons, and made modifications that should have been impossible with their limited resources. When Jake asked him how he knew what to do, Pete just said it felt natural. "Captain," Pete said as he entered the bridge, "I'm picking up signals from other human ships in the area. They're all reporting strange dreams and new abilities." Jake looked at the communications display. Messages were coming in from human crews across this sector of space. Salvage workers, miners, transport pilots, all of them were experiencing the same changes. "It's spreading," Lisa said. "The final protocol isn't just affecting us. It's affecting all humans who have been exposed to the archives." "How is that possible?" Jake asked. "I think the station we found was just one of many," Lisa replied. The file mentioned a network of archive stations scattered across the galaxy. As each one activates, it sends out some kind of signal that triggers the protocol in nearby humans. Jake studied the star maps on his screen. If that's true, then this is happening everywhere humans live and work. Pete nodded, and the Federation is going to notice. They were right. Over the next week, reports began coming in from across human space. Human workers were displaying unusual skills and knowledge. Human colonies were organizing themselves in new ways that looked suspiciously like military formations. Human engineers were building things that shouldn't have been possible with their current technology. The Federation's response was swift. Human ships were ordered to report to the nearest Federation base for inspection. Human colonies were placed under increased surveillance. Human citizens were questioned about their recent activities and any unusual experiences, but the humans weren't responding the way the Federation expected. Instead of submitting to the new restrictions, they began to resist. Human crews refused to report for inspection. Human colonies closed their communications with Federation authorities. Human workers walked away from their jobs and began gathering in groups. Jake watched the news reports with growing concern. "This is going to lead to conflict," he said. "Maybe that's what needs to happen," Lisa replied. "For 50,000 years, humans have been treated as second-class citizens in the galaxy we once ruled. Maybe it's time for that to change." Pete looked up from his workstation. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission. It's from Captain Henry Barnes of the cargo ship Liberty Bell." And Jake knew Barnes. He was a good man who ran supplies to human colonies in the outer systems. "Put him through." Barnes' face appeared on the screen. He looked tired but determined. "Jake, I hope you're seeing what I'm seeing out here. Human ships are gathering at the old mining station in the Cygnos system. Word is spreading that someone has found proof of our real history." "What kind of gathering?" Jake asked. "The kind that makes Federation ships nervous," Barnes replied. "We're talking about dozens of human vessels and more arriving every hour. The people there are different, Jake. They're organized, focused, and they're not taking orders from alien overseers anymore." Lisa leaned into the communication pickup. "Henry, this is Dr. Parker. Are the people there experiencing memory flashes and new abilities?" "You could say that," Barnes said. "I've got crew members who suddenly know how to operate weapon systems we don't even have. My engineer figured out how to boost our engines by 300% using modifications that aren't in any manual. And our navigator is plotting courses through space lanes that official maps say don't exist." Jake made a decision. "Send us the coordinates. We're coming to join you." "Jake, are you sure about this?" Barnes asked. "Once you're here, there's no going back. The Federation is already calling this a rebellion." Then maybe it's time for a rebellion, Jake said. After ending the communication, Jake turned to his crew. Anyone who wants to leave can take one of the escape pods to the nearest Federation station. I won't order anyone to come with us. Pete and Lisa looked at each other, then back at Jake. We're with you, Captain, Pete said. What about our passenger? Lisa asked, nodding toward Vextel's quarters. Jake thought about this. We bring him with us. Maybe it's time for some Federation representatives to see what humans are really capable of. The journey to the Cygna system took 2 days. As they traveled, Jake felt the changes in himself growing stronger. He found himself planning battle strategies and thinking about resource allocation across multiple star systems. It was as if his mind was preparing for something big. When they arrived at the mining station, Jake was amazed by what he saw. The small station was surrounded by human ships of every type. Cargo haulers, mining vessels, passenger transports, and even a few old Federation military ships that had been sold as surplus. All of them had been modified in ways that made them more powerful and dangerous. How many ships are out there? Pete asked. I count over 200, Lisa replied. And look at how they're positioned. That's not random. They're arranged in defensive formations. As the New Horizon approached the station, they were contacted by traffic control. The voice that came through was crisp and professional, with an authority that Jake recognized. New Horizon, this is Station Control. Please transmit your human identification codes and prepare for escort to Docking Bay 7. Human identification codes? Pete asked. Since when do we have those? Lisa was already working at her console. Since now, apparently. The system is automatically generating them based on our biometric signatures. As they docked at the station, Jake could see that it had been completely transformed. The old mining equipment had been replaced with communications arrays and defensive systems. Human workers moved through the corridors with purpose and efficiency that reminded Jake of military operations. They were met at the airlock by a woman in her 50s who carried herself like a general. Captain Morrison, I'm Colonel. Susan Hayes, we've been expecting you. Colonel? Jake asked. I didn't know humans used military ranks. We do now, Hayes replied. The final protocol includes more than just memories and abilities. It includes organizational structures, command hierarchies, and operational procedures. We're remembering how to be what we once were. As Hayes led them through the station, Jake saw humans working with technology that looked far more advanced than anything he had seen before. Where did all this equipment come from? We built it, Hayes said simply. Turns out that when humans remember how to build things properly, we can accomplish quite a lot with basic materials. They entered a large room filled with displays showing star maps and ship positions. Dozens of humans worked at control stations, coordinating the activities of the growing fleet outside. This is impressive, Lisa said. But what's the goal here? What are you planning to do with all these ships and people? Hayes looked at them seriously. We're planning to survive, Dr. Parker. The Federation won't let this awakening continue. They're already mobilizing forces to stop us. So we're going to give them a choice. They can accept that humans are equals in this galaxy, or they can try to put us back in our cage. Jake looked around the room at all the activity. And if they choose to fight? Hayes smiled, and for a moment Jake could see the warrior that the final protocol had awakened in her. Then they'll learn why it took the entire galaxy working together to defeat us the first time. The Federation Council chamber on the capital world of Zephyr Prime had not seen this much tension in centuries. Representatives from dozens of species sat around the massive circular table, their faces showing fear and anger. Supreme Chancellor Korth, a massive Krathari warrior, stood at the center of the chamber addressing the assembly. The situation is worse than we initially thought, Korth announced. Human populations across 17 sectors are showing signs of what they call awakening. Our intelligence reports indicate that they are recovering knowledge and abilities that were supposed to be permanently suppressed. A Zephyrian delegate raised her hand. How is this possible? The bioweapon was designed to be permanent. Human aggression and military knowledge should have been wiped out forever. Apparently, our ancestors underestimated human resilience, Korth replied. The weapon's effects are wearing off after 50,000 years. More troubling, the humans had contingency plans that we never discovered. Commander Vextal had been brought to the council to give his report. He stood nervously as hundreds of alien eyes focused on him. The humans found what they call an archive station. It contained detailed records of their previous civilization and something called a final protocol. Once activated, this protocol seems to be spreading to human populations across the galaxy. What kind of changes are we seeing? Asked a Benthan representative. Vextal consulted his notes. Human workers are displaying advanced technical knowledge. Their engineers are improving our technology in ways our own experts never considered. Human ship crews are organizing into military formations. Most concerning, they are building new weapons and defensive systems using designs that appear to be based on ancient Terran technology. The chamber erupted in worried conversations. The older delegates remembered the stories passed down through generations about the human wars. The younger ones had never taken those stories seriously, assuming they were exaggerated myths about a primitive species. Chancellor Korth called for order. The human gathering at the Cygnus mining station now includes over 400 ships. Our military analysts estimate that if these ships are equipped with the weapons they appear to be building, they could pose a serious threat to Federation forces in that sector. We must act quickly, said the Zephyrian delegate. If we allow this awakening to continue, we could face a repeat of the ancient wars. What do you propose? Korth asked. Immediate military intervention. Surround the human gathering and force them to surrender. Place all human populations under direct Federation control until this crisis can be resolved. Other delegates voiced their agreement, but a few raised concerns. What if they resist? Asked a Jorvian representative. Our intelligence suggests that these awakened humans have regained their tactical abilities. A direct assault could result in significant casualties. Korth made his decision. We cannot allow fear of casualties to prevent us from protecting the stability of the galaxy. I am authorizing Operation Silent Return. Federation fleets will move to contain human populations and neutralize any resistance. Within hours, Federation ships began moving toward human colonies and gathering points. The largest fleet, commanded by Admiral Rextan of the Zephyrian Navy, headed for the Cygnus system where the human concentration was strongest. Back at the mining station, Colonel Hayes watched the approaching Federation fleet on her tactical displays. They're bringing everything they have, she told Jake and his crew. 600 ships, including their newest battle cruisers. Jake studied the display. Somehow, he found himself analyzing the Federation formation and identifying weaknesses. They're coming in too tight. Their heavy ships are protecting their flanks, but they've left gaps in their forward screen. You're right, Hayes said, looking at him with interest. Most people wouldn't notice that. Your tactical instincts are awakening faster than average. Lisa had been studying Federation ship designs using her restored knowledge. There's something else. These Federation ships are based on corrupted copies of original human designs. Look at their power distribution systems and weapon placement. They're using our technology, but they're using it wrong. Pete nodded enthusiastically. I've been thinking the same thing. Their shields have a resonance frequency that creates a vulnerability window every 12 seconds. Their engines have a thermal exhaust that could be exploited. It's like they learned how to copy our technology but never understood why we designed it the way we did, Hayes smiled grimly. Gentlemen, lady, you've just identified something our strategists have been working on for days. The Federation has been using inferior copies of human technology for 50,000 years. They think their equipment is advanced, but compared to what we can build when we remember how they're using Stone Age tools. The first contact between Federation and human forces came when a small Federation patrol encountered a group of human cargo ships. The Federation commander ordered the humans to prepare for boarding and inspection. The human response was swift and decisive. The cargo ships, which had appeared helpless, suddenly revealed hidden weapons and defensive systems. In less than 10 minutes, the entire Federation patrol was disabled. The human ships then transmitted a message to the Federation. Fleet. This is Captain Barnes of the human vessel Liberty Bell. We are not your subjects anymore. Turn around and leave, or we will defend ourselves. Admiral Rextan was furious when he received the report. Cargo ships defeated our patrol vessels? How is that possible? His tactical officer studied the engagement data. Sir, the human ships used weapons and tactics that our computers don't recognize. They targeted specific weak points in our ship systems with precision that suggests detailed knowledge of our technology. They're just humans, Rextan said. Proceed with the original plan. All ships advance to surround the human station. But as the Federation fleet moved closer to the mining station, they encountered something none of them had expected. The humans had not just gathered their ships randomly. They had created a defensive network that used the asteroid field around the station as cover and positioned their vessels to create overlapping fields of fire. More importantly, the human ships were no longer the simple civilian vessels they had appeared to be. They had been modified with advanced weapons, improved shields, and enhanced engines. When the Federation fleet came within range, the humans opened fire with coordinated precision that took the alien forces completely by surprise. The battle lasted 6 hours. The Federation fleet, despite its superior numbers and larger ships, found itself outmaneuvered and outgunned by human forces that seemed to anticipate every move. Human engineers had identified weaknesses in Federation technology that allowed their smaller ships to disable much larger opponents. When the fighting ended, 60 Federation ships had been destroyed or captured, while the humans had lost only 12 vessels. The remaining Federation ships retreated, leaving Admiral Rextan to explain to his superiors how a civilian-human gathering had defeated a major Federation fleet. Back on Zephyr Prime, Chancellor Korth received the battle report with growing alarm. This confirms our worst fears. The humans are not just remembering their past abilities, they are exceeding them. What are your orders, Chancellor? Asked his aide. Korth looked out at the stars through the chamber's large windows. Send word to all Federation members. The ancient enemy has returned. We must prepare for total war. The news of the human victory at Cygnus spread quickly through both human and alien populations. For humans across the galaxy, it was proof that their species could stand up to Federation oppression. For aliens, it was confirmation of their ancestral fears about human military capability. Human colonies that had been under Federation control began declaring independence. Human workers walked away from their jobs and joined growing resistance movements. Human ships throughout the galaxy converged on rally points to form new fleets. The Federation's response was to increase pressure on remaining human populations. Martial law was declared in systems with large human populations. Human leaders were arrested and detained. Human ships were impounded and their crews imprisoned, but every action the Federation took only served to awaken more humans to their true heritage. Each act of oppression reminded them of why their ancestors had fought so hard against alien domination. The final protocol was not just restoring their memories and abilities. It was giving them a reason to use them. Jake stood on the bridge of the New Horizon, now equipped with weapons and shields that Pete had built using recovered human technology. Around them, the human fleet had grown to over 1,000 ships. More were arriving every day. The Federation has made their choice, Jake said to his crew. They want to fight rather than accept us as equals. Lisa looked at the tactical displays, showing Federation fleets moving throughout the galaxy. Then we'll give them the fight they're asking for. Pete finished his work on the ship's new weapon systems. These modifications are complete. We're ready for whatever comes next. Jake nodded. The peaceful salvage captain he had been just weeks ago was gone, replaced by someone who understood strategy, tactics, and the responsibilities of command. The final protocol had not just awakened his memories. It had awakened the leader he was meant to be. 6 months after the battle at Cygnus, the galaxy had changed completely. The human awakening had spread to every corner of known space. And what emerged was not the same species that had once conquered through fear and force. The humans who remembered their past had also learned from 50,000 years of struggle, cooperation, and growth. General Marcus White stood in the command center of the newly constructed human stronghold at Proxima Station. He had been a simple maintenance worker before the awakening, but the final protocol had revealed his true nature as a strategic genius. Around him, hundreds of awakened humans coordinated operations across dozens of star systems. Status report. Marcus called out. Captain Jake Morrison approached with a datapad. The Federation Coalition has assembled their largest fleet in history. 2,000 ships from 12 different species, all heading for the Sol system. They plan to strike at Earth itself. Marcus studied the tactical display. They think that attacking our supposed homeworld will break our spirit. They don't understand that we've grown beyond the need for a single world to define us. Lisa Parker looked up from her analysis station. Our intelligence suggests that Supreme Chancellor Korth believes this will be like the ancient war. He expects us to fight the same way we did 50,000 years ago. Then he's going to be very surprised, Marcus replied. The truth was that the awakened humans had access to all their ancient knowledge and abilities, but they had also retained everything they had learned during their long exile. They understood cooperation, diplomacy, and the value of diversity in ways their ancestors never had. The final protocol had not just restored the Terran Dominion. It had created something entirely new. Human fleets positioned themselves throughout the galaxy, but they did not move to attack Federation forces. Instead, they took defensive positions around human colonies and made an announcement that surprised everyone. Ambassador Helen Torres, speaking for all of humanity, broadcast a message to every inhabited world in the galaxy. People of the Federation, we know that you fear us because of what our ancestors did long ago. We understand that fear, and we do not ask you to forget the past, but we ask you to see what we have become. The message continued. We do not seek to reconquer the galaxy. We do not want to rule over other species. We want to be partners in building a better future for everyone. The humans you knew were peaceful because we had forgotten our strength. The humans we are now have remembered our strength but chosen to use it for protection rather than conquest. Many Federation leaders dismissed the message as propaganda, but others began to listen. The humans had the power to attack Federation worlds, but they hadn't. They had the ability to disrupt trade routes and supply lines, but they protected them instead. When Federation civilians were in danger from pirates or natural disasters, human ships arrived to help. The decisive moment came when the Federation's Grand Fleet reached the Sol system, expecting to find human forces defending Earth. Instead, they found something that confused and concerned them. Earth was defended, but not by massive battle fleets. The humans had positioned their ships to protect civilian populations and infrastructure, not to maximize military advantage. Admiral Rextan, now commanding the Federation coalition, opened communications with the human forces. This is Admiral Rextan of the Federation fleet. You will surrender immediately or face total destruction. The response came from General Marcus White himself. Admiral, this is General White of the Terran Defense Forces. We have no intention of surrendering, but we also have no intention of attacking you unless you force us to do so. You cannot hope to defeat our combined fleet, Rextan replied. Admiral, we don't want to defeat your fleet. We want to save it. Before Rextan could respond, his tactical officer called out a warning. Sir, we're detecting massive energy readings from the asteroid belt. It looks like some kind of ancient facility is powering up. What the Federation fleet had discovered was the Master Archive Station, hidden in the asteroid belt around humanity's adopted home. This station was larger and more powerful than any they had encountered before. As it activated, it began broadcasting. Not just to humans, but to every species in the solar system. The broadcast contained detailed records of the ancient war, but from perspectives that had never been seen before. It showed not just human conquest, but human protection of smaller species. It revealed that the original Terran Dominion had become corrupted by power. but had also included many humans who fought against that corruption. Most shocking of all, it showed that the bioweapon used against humanity had been developed by a joint human-alien team led by humans who believed their species had become too dangerous and needed to be stopped. The final protocol was never just about restoring human power, the broadcast explained. It was about creating a new kind of human civilization, one that had the strength to protect the galaxy, but the wisdom to do so without dominating it. As the truth spread through the Federation fleet, something unexpected happened. Ships began breaking away from the attack formation. Captains and crews who had been told they were fighting against a returning conqueror began to realize they were attacking people who wanted to be allies. The Jorvian ships were the first to stand down, followed by the Benthans and several other species. Within hours, only the hardcore Zephyrian and Krathri forces remained in attack position. Supreme Chancellor Korth, watching from his flagship, was furious. All remaining ships, attack immediately. Do not let them divide us with their lies. But as the reduced Federation force moved to attack, they encountered something they had never seen before. The human fleet did not try to destroy the attacking ships. Instead, they used precise, surgical strikes to disable weapons and engines while leaving life support systems intact. They captured rather than killed, rescued rather than destroyed. The battle lasted only 3 hours. When it ended, the remaining Federation ships were disabled but intact, their crews safe and unharmed. Human rescue ships immediately moved to provide medical aid and emergency supplies to the defeated vessels. Admiral Rextan found himself aboard a human medical ship, being treated for injuries sustained when his command console exploded. The human doctor treating him was professional and caring, showing no sign of hatred or revenge. "Why didn't you destroy us?" Rextan asked Dr. Ben Carter, who had awakened from a transport pilot into a skilled physician, looked at him seriously. "Because destroying you wouldn't solve anything. The galaxy has had enough war. It's time to try something different." In the weeks that followed, negotiations began between human representatives and individual Federation species. Not all species were ready to accept humanity as equals, but many were willing to listen. The Jorvians became the first species to formally recognize human independence and sign a mutual defense agreement. The Benthans followed, then the Aquarians and several smaller species. Each agreement was based on cooperation and mutual benefit rather than domination. Commander Vexthal, who had witnessed humanity's transformation from the beginning, became one of the strongest advocates for peaceful coexistence. "I have seen what humans can do when they remember their power," he told the Zephyrian Council. "But I have also seen what they choose to do with that power. They could have destroyed us all, but instead they offered us partnership." A year after the battle at Sol, the galaxy looked very different. The old Federation still existed, but it shared power with a new organization called the Galactic Cooperative. Humans played a leading role in this new government, but as partners rather than rulers, human technology and knowledge flowed freely to other species, but always with safeguards to prevent it from being used for conquest or oppression. Human fleets patrolled trade routes and protected colonies, but they did so in cooperation with forces from dozens of other species. Jake Morrison found himself commanding a mixed crew of humans and aliens aboard a ship designed using the best technology from multiple civilizations. Pete Rodriguez had become chief engineer for an entire sector, teaching alien engineers how to properly use the technology their ancestors had copied from humans. Lisa Parker directed a new organization dedicated to recovering and preserving the knowledge of all species, ensuring that the mistakes of the past would not be repeated. The final protocol had achieved its true purpose. It had not restored the old Terran Dominion, but had created something better. A human civilization that combined ancient strength with hard-earned wisdom, capable of leading not through fear but through example. On Earth, now serving as the capital of the Galactic Cooperative, memorials were built to honor both the human victims of the ancient war and the alien civilians who had suffered under Terran rule. The past was not forgotten, but it was forgiven, And the future was built on the foundation of that forgiveness. Marcus White, now serving as the first human chancellor of the Galactic Cooperative, stood before a mixed assembly of species from across the galaxy. The final protocol was labeled as such because it was meant to be humanity's final evolution, not into conquerors but into protectors, not into rulers but into servants of peace. He looked out at the hundreds of representatives, human and alien alike. Today we begin a new chapter in galactic history.